So we get halfway around, and I could feel something coming up on my back. And it was like I could tell it was a negative energy. So I started to say the Lord's Prayer because I thought, I'm not taking
Yeah.
any hitchhikers home. So we walk out of the room. The thing is over. We go back to Vegas, get our gambling on for a day or two, and come home and nothing. But as each day went by, I started getting really negative and really hateful. And it got worse at like very gradual, day after day after day. So one day after a couple of weeks, my husband's like, uh, I think you have an attachment. You got to get rid of it. You brought something home.
Your paranormal adventures, another edition.
Yeah.
This one involves um, the Ghost Adventures guy. What is his name?
Zak Bagans.
Zak Bagans on the show.
Yeah.
Should be interesting. Uh, Take it away. I'd
Oh,
love to hear it.
okay. Um, my husband and I went to Vegas with another couple, and it's a haunted mansion um, that Zach bought. He turned it into a museum, very close to the Strip in Vegas. So I thought, hey, this would be a great idea. Let's go to this haunted museum. Well, famous last words.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, for years I would go to haunted cemeteries, insane asylums. We do ghost hunts in haunted houses. So I really wasn't thinking too much about this, and I didn't do any research on it before we got there. So we get there, and I told my husband, I said, "Ooh, let's make sure let's envision a ball of golden light around us because we don't want to bring home any hitchhikers." And so we walk in, first place where first room, and like I said, this is a mansion that he had turned into a museum. And all of these items people have sent him or he's bought, and they're all haunted or they have some sort of attachments, negative energies. I mean, you could feel it the minute you walked in this place. So the first room is filled with all these dolls. I am scared to death of dolls. Um, I always have been. It was so creepy.
I
Dolls
hate
are,
dolls too.
you don't like dolls either?
No, their eyes, they're like staring at you. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And it's so easy that's one of the easiest things for spirit to manipulate is to go into a doll. Um, because it's just like our body. So it's easy for them to slip into that. So
Uh,
we're in the doll room, and of course they have a guided tour. And there was maybe six of us, two other people I think in our group, and then the person that took us around and explained everything. Then we went through a section, and I am not scared of clowns at all. This was terrifying. It was like all of these clowns and just really loud. If you were scared of clowns, you probably would have a heart attack going through this
yeah,
hallway.
I'm not thrilled about clowns either.
You're not, they never really bothered me at
So,
all.
so
Yeah.
remind me never to go there.
Oh, I had no idea what we were in store for.
Jeez.
And in each room, and there's a lot of them, I can't remember. I know there was one like Charles Manson. There was a painting of him, but his eyes were from his ashes where he was cremated.
Ooh.
And I mean, these are horrific, very evil people,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of that in there. That Dr. Gavorkian, the one who people would go to him and he would pretty much kill them.
Yeah. Kevorkian. Yeah.
Yeah, however you say his name. They had his van in this room. Like they had to knock out a wall, get this van in there. And it was like one of those little beetle bugs, but inside it looked like inside of a ambulance. When I was in that room, I thought I was going to faint. It
Really.
was the energy was so sad and depressed. And on the wall were pictures of people that he helped cross over and stuff.
Yes.
Um, they had like haunted mirrors. They had this doll. It's a really haunted doll. I think her name was Peggy. In a glass case, and they tell you not to look at her in the eye, which makes you want to look at her when you go in. And so
Hmm.
they're like, okay, now when you go in, I forget kind of how they said it, but you had to be really nice to her and say, "Hi, Peggy," and then you walk around, and on the way out, you'd have to go bye. And I thought, oh, this is silly, but I did it. And then later on, one of the guides told us, we had two guides at different points, and they both said that they knew that that doll went home with them some nights. And I'm like, how did you know that? And they're like, oh, we'd have like doors slam and lights turn on and all kinds of paranormal stuff. And then they'd go to work the next day, almost like she'd go back to work with them. Kind of strange.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
then they had a chair in there, and that chair was really, oh, a lot of negative energy on this chair. And this chair was uh, in a room where there was exorcisms taking place. And they said during the exorcisms, I think, now don't quote me, but I thought they said the chair would like start to rock by itself or would even vanish and then reappear. And that chair
Oh,
was in there. Yeah. And
hmm.
just like in your house, the walls of your home and everything in your home, it attracts the energy in the home. So if there's always screaming and fighting and yelling, it gets absorbed into all of these items and in the home. And if you were to take it and sell it, a chair or a table, the person who buys they could pick up on that energy because it's embedded in there. So that makes sense with that chair. Then they had a room. I won't go through every room because I can't remember. They had a room, and this one was really heavy. He recreated like a little stairs in a basement of this home, and they called it, what was the name of it? A demon house in Gary, Indiana. Did you ever hear that story?
No.
It's about oh, people moved in there and they had three young children, like 9 and some other ages. I'm not quite for sure, but these children started getting possessed by demons, and it's documented. Um, they've had child protection services, and there's even videos out there on the internet where one of them, I think it was in a hospital, where one of these children walked up a wall backwards when he was possessed.
Really.
Oh, it is, yeah, I saw the video and it is terrifying. But Zach bought this house eventually because the people moved out, and he bought that house and tore it down. And then he took some of the bricks and stuff from the basement and part of the steps and recreated it in this room. It was, I don't know why anybody would want all of that negative energy. I mean, that just can't be
Yeah.
good. So
Hmm.
then one of the last things is that Dybbuk Box. Before you go into this room, they say, you don't have to go in if you don't want. And there was a little part of me that's like, I don't think I'll go in there. And then I thought, oh, I'll go in. What's it gonna hurt? And
Right.
so it's
Famous last words.
yeah. So it's this wooden box. It's like a little wine thing or something. But it is said to have these demonic spirits trapped in this box. Now they don't know how many. So here's the box. It wasn't too big from what I remember. And then around the box was salt and sage. And then around that was this thick bulletproof glass. And it was a big enclosure. And I think I remember etched in the glass was the Lord's Prayer. And it might have been in different languages too, because I seem to remember where our guide was saying it was the Lord's Prayer. So I think there were, like I said, 6 of us in the group. And of course, I was the last one, which I did not like. And we walked around the whole perimeter of the room around this thing. So we get halfway around, and I could feel something coming up on my back. And it was like I could tell it was a negative energy. So I started to say the Lord's Prayer because I thought, I'm not taking
Yeah.
any hitchhikers home. So we walk out of the room. The thing is over. We go back to Vegas, get our gambling on for a day or two, and come home and nothing. But as each day went by, I started getting really negative and really hateful. And it got worse at like very gradual, day after day after day. So one day after a couple of weeks, my husband's like, uh, I think you have an attachment. You got to get rid of it. You brought something home. And and I thought, oh my God, maybe he's right. And see, they're sneaky. These little evil spirits can be very tricky. If I would have walked out of there and instantly known, I would have known I had an attachment and worked on getting rid of it. But they come on so gradual, you don't even know what's happening. So my husband said that to me. So that night I was laying in the bed and I'm sitting there and I said, okay. And I said, Lord, help me to get rid of this attachment or whatever this is. I want this gone. So I started saying the Lord's Prayer. And when I did, I started vibrating. And it started at my feet and then it kind of started going further up. The more that I said the Lord's Prayer, I was about halfway in the middle of it. I, I was like vibrating off the bed like an inch. I wasn't convulsing, but I was shake, and it got like to my stomach, and I thought there was one part of me that's like, you know what, just quit. Like you're gonna explode. I didn't know what was gonna happen. It was just freaking me out. And then another part of me is like, no, keep going. And I said it, and when I said amen at the end, I could feel something shoot out of the top of my head. Just like in the ghost movies when you see a ghost walking through somebody and they go, ooh, that's kind of
Yeah.
literally what it did.
Like
Shot
a
out of
little
my head.
exorcist scene, right?
Yeah, it
Like
was
the movie.
it was creepy.
Yeah.
And and then when
Your
it
head,
did,
you didn't pea soup or anything, did you?
and my head wasn't spinning around. Who knows,
Yeah.
it could have been, but I'm telling you, it is not funny, really.
Well,
And I
funny
mean,
to
we
me.
can laugh at it now, but when it shot out of me, I felt this sense of peace. And I thought, yay. And then I thought, oh my God, I hope it didn't like jump into my husband or in my son in the other room. So, of course, we talked about it the following days after that. But, even the moral of this story is we did the protection around us. And people are like, oh, well, if your light is so bright, you wouldn't be able to pick up an attachment. I beg to differ. I think those are the ones they want to attach to. Why would they want to attach to somebody negative? They're already on their team. They
Right.
want to jump in and bring down the light. So yeah, so that was
That
that
was
was my
crazy.
story,
Yeah.
and I won't go to another haunted place because of that.
Yeah. I wouldn't either.
It it is creepy, like evil, and I don't know why anybody would want to
I don't
collect all
know.
that stuff.
Some people like that. Some people like horror movies.
Yeah, I don't like
I can't get it. I can't watch those things.
I can't either. I
Yeah.
don't like scary movies or anything.
All right. Well, that was a pretty cool little trip for you. I'll,
Yeah. I
I'll
think
let
I'll
you
just stick to gambling when I go to Vegas next time.
I think so too.